Wanneer 'n mens aan die formidabele vroue van Suid-Afrika dink, is ons voormalige openbare beskermer, advokaat en professor Thuli Madonsela se naam gewoonlik bo aan daai lys. Dis vanoggend my voorreg om met haar as deel van die reeks te kan gesels. Goeiemôre, good morning, Professor Madonsela.
Goeiemôre, Elsa, and to the viewers as well.
Now, I would like to start by asking, how are you and what are you up to these days?
You may know that I'm recovering from the passing of my partner, so it's only been about 42 days. But what is exciting is the work we're doing at Stellenbosch University in researching social justice, particularly helping policymakers to predict the unintended consequences of policies. I was at an event yesterday where I was urging the private sector to help government to test policies in a social laboratory first before applying them to people, so that if there are unintended consequences, they are fixed. And then at Tuma Foundation, we're busy training people on ethical, purpose-driven, and impact-conscious leadership. All of this is to give us a better South Africa for all of us. And I would say another thing that we're doing is dialoguing or opening opportunities to dialogue around what kind of a society do we want to live in, what's wrong with the one we live in, and what roles are we all going to play to bring about the South Africa we dream of.
Now, in your current position at the University of Stellenbosch, what would you want to imprint on the next generation tasked to uphold the law?
Well, the starting point, which is part of our everyday law and justice, ELAJI, is to get the next generation to understand our Constitution and embrace it, starting with the preamble, which paints a picture of the South Africa we want. And then ultimately, we would like to see the young people double up on Ubuntu anchored social justice. But I must say, Elsa, this is what I find among young people, regardless of what color they are. There's just a sense of goodness among the majority of them. There's kindness. There's really wanting to work for common good. We see that when we work on hunger, on working on raising fees for students, there's just that feeling among the young ones that I want to be there. I want to be counted in making South Africa to work for everyone and to build a better world for everyone.
We miss you as our public protector, but do you miss the office?
I really do, although occasionally I do come across my colleagues, including the current amazing public protector, advocate Kollega. But I particularly miss the Goeiemôre stories that gave me and my team an opportunity to make a difference to the average person who is dealing with the state in a scenario that looks like David versus Goliath. Of course, I don't miss fighting against corruption, but I do hope we never have to fight against it anymore, because we have more ethical leaders everywhere.
I have to ask you, in 1996, you helped draft the final constitution of South Africa, promulgated by President Nelson Mandela. When reflecting on his legacy, how do you feel about the current state of affairs in terms of where our country finds itself at the moment?
My feelings are paradoxical in that on the one hand, I feel a sense of warmth, a sense of joy that we build a constitution that will last, that anticipated the future, and therefore it has the right guardrails to help us whenever people get out of line. And that's why we've been able to handle state capture. That's why when Goeiemôre is treated badly by the state, she is able to face up with the state. But I'm also sad over the fact that 31 years into democracy and more than 2 decades of implementing this amazing constitution, we still have extreme levels of inequality, poverty, unemployment and hunger. And I'm excited, though, that we're having this national dialogue, which for me reminds me of the people of Siena, a province in Italy, who around 1937 to 1939 asked somebody by the name of Ambrosio Lonzaretti to paint the kind of city and countryside they would like to live in, and to paint the kind of leaders and the virtues that the leaders need to deliver that city. So we've got something similar to the Constitution, but it's not as clear as the frescoes that were created by Ambrosio. And we have an opportunity, through this dialogue that is starting on the 15th to paint vividly the South Africa we want, and then to play our part in delivering that South Africa.
Now, it is Women's Month. How do you feel about women in leadership?
I'm excited over the fact that the opportunities I have today as a woman, my daughter has, and my granddaughter is going to have today are far more advanced compared to the opportunities that were experienced by Olive Schreiner and Charlotte Maxeke more than 100 years ago. Even Helen Suzman and people like Mama Albertina Sisulu had it much more tougher than we are having. Today we have a woman Chief Justice, we have a Speaker of Parliament, several ministers, and we have women running their own businesses, including having the JSE being currently headed by a woman for the second time in a row. So those are great things. But there's sadness in the fact that women are still afraid to live in their own homes because somebody's going to kill them in their own homes. Little girls are going to be raped in their own homes. You can't even go to the post office without worrying about the possibility of being raped and or killed. So those are some of the challenges we have. Also, in the business sector, we don't have enough women in business. And if they do start businesses, they struggle with two things. One is money, capitalization of the businesses. Secondly, is they don't have as many networks that give them the kind of social capital that is needed to run a successful business. But again, things are better than yesterday. And again, hopefully the dialogue and the G20 conversations are going to help us to squarely confront the gaps and make sure that the promises in the Constitution, the promises in the Freedom Charter, the promises that were given to the women of 1956 become realized, not just for a few women, but for every woman and girl in this country.
Absolutely. Now, a lot of South Africans have referred to the fact that they would like it if you became president. What does that mean to you?
Well, I'm always humbled by that kind of recognition by women, but I neither have the skills nor the desire to become president. And to plug the gap, though, both at Stellenbosch University through the Social Justice Chair and working with the Frederick Van Zyl Slabbert Institute, we are building young leaders that are ethical, purpose-driven, impact-conscious, and committed to serve. And through the Tuma Foundation, we do the same. So we won't be without a lot of candidates for the presidency because you're not too young to become a president. Maybe the next president will be in their 20s or in their 30s or even in their 40s.
And what is your message to the younger women and girls in South Africa?
To every woman and girl, I would say, yes, life may not be as good as you want it to be, but you're the most fortunate of the women we've had in this country and in the world up until now. Together we stand on shoulders of giants. Don't focus on your concerns, focus on the opportunities, because whatever we focus on, neuroscientists say, our brain gives us the resources to make it happen. So take whatever opportunity you have, hold somebody else so that you lift as you rise, as Charlotte Maxeke warned us and Olive Schreiner did.
Professor Madonsela, what is still giving you hope for this country?
Young people give me hope. As I said earlier, every time when I feel a little bit of despair that there's corruption, there is hunger, there is poverty and inequality, I look at the faces of young people. I look at how they react to the teachings. We teach a course, for example, on social justice. We make them play games on justice and on social justice. The way they respond to those games gives me a whole lot of hope. And the things that they are starting as young people. One of my colleagues, Temba, for example, has written a book twice now to raise money for fellow students so that they're not kicked out of school. A young girl as young as 9 years old, Daniela Takis, wrote a book and gave some of her proceeds to the Track for Mandela, caring for girls to get pads, and some of the money she has given to students, grown-up students, to not be kicked out at university as part of Action for Inclusion. So these young people really give me hope. They also reject corruption. They don't find excuses for corruption. And these are the ones who are leading, and they don't believe that you need to be a particular age to lead, you need a title, or you need permission to lead.
Professor Madonsela, you are such an inspiration. Thank you so much indeed.
Elsa, thank you for the privilege. Goodbye.
Bly ingeskakel vir die res van die program net hierna.